Ladies and gentlemen, one more presentation, and yes, then surely we will have a lunch break soon. With this, can I please request for the next special session, Mr. Sudhakar Adapa, the founder and CEO, careerista.com, on stage with us to talk on leveraging technological advances to maximize employee learning in T&D initiatives. Can I please have the gentleman on stage with us? Everyone, please welcome him on stage. Hello.
Good afternoon. It's little difficult, to having coming in between you and lunch. Okay, and thanks Abhijit for setting the context of my presentation. That's going to be leveraging technological advances in the training and development. When we say technology, technology permeates every aspect of our lives and organizations, and it's going to impact every aspect of it. And training and development, being a subset of this whole technological revolution, is not really an exception. Okay. So when we talk about the technological advances and the necessity of using those technological advances to in the training and development segment, the reality is that we are forced to leverage technology because your employees are already using technology in their knowledge and development. So in a sense, adapting technology is a necessity born out of your employees' needs and their yearning for knowledge. Okay, and like Abhijit said, knowledge has become accessible to a lot of people. Now we have Coursera's and edX's and all these, the so-called MOOC phenomenon, which is massively open online courses, is happening across the globe. In fact, there is a discussion that's going on in the world where people are asking this question: is classroom going to be obsolete? Now, I would say that is I think it's little jumping the ship. Now, it is little too early to say that classroom is going to be obsolete, because the learning, the aspect of learning in the classroom is a little different from the expectations what you have from technology. Okay, the basic question of training and development is in terms of leveraging the technology is, if you look at your employees who are learning, okay, they might be learning, they might have the yearning for knowledge and learning, but the other question that technology has to address is that, are they serious enough to learn? Okay, because, for example, there is another way of being present in this conference via webinar and all that. So that is technology for you. Now, one of your colleague who wants to be here but couldn't manage to come here because of the timelines or the traveling or whatever it is, can actually catch us up over a webinar. But is it going to replicate the same kind of experience of kind of people that we are here? The same kind of experience, it is very difficult to replicate. Because here in this room, you have a bell. I mean, if we go overboard in terms of time, you have a bell to remind us. Okay, and the conference etiquette, which keeps you sitting here without actually stepping out, even if you have an emergency phone call or whatever it is, stops you from actually stepping out of the room. Okay, and your colleague who's actually joining us over the webinar doesn't have the same kind of inclination what you have, because he is sitting in front of a comp. Okay, so the element of seriousness, which is one of the very important aspects of learning, is kind of missing in the use of technology. But the good point is, even employees understand the fact that they have to learn and keep themselves updated, because if they don't, then they are going to be obsolete. So the good thing for you guys is that employees realize the fact and understand the fact that they have to learn to keep themselves updated, and that is keeping the seriousness in the learning environment very serious. That's the reason why if you look at the statistics of enrollment from Coursera, okay, 70% of the enrollments next to the US are from India. The reason is there is a growing awareness amongst people, amongst employees, to keep themselves updated and updated with the newest technologies or newest developments in the learning and development field. Okay, but the other point is, if you look at the course completion in Coursera or in fact Udacity or edX, for example, it's 7%. That means only 7% of the 100 out of every 100 students who have joined a Coursera course are actually completing the course. Now, does it tell you something? So it's telling us that it's not about the quality of learning, or it's not about technology. The most important thing is that you need to have the seriousness in learning. Okay. Now, how do you address that? Is if you have a thorough understanding of technology, the solution could be, lies somewhere in blended learning, where you use the technological advances with its advantages, along with and addressing those challenges that comes along with the usage of technology, because you are not going to be there face to face, and no one is there, to actually see whether you are learning or not. It is mostly self-driven. So you can address that by using a mix of courses via blended learning, which can be some part of the course can be over virtual learning or distance learning or whatever it is, and some part of learning to bring in the seriousness and collaboration through face-to-face learning. So the new trend that's going to come up in the learning and development space is, it's not completely in the uses of technology. It is not completely classroom learning. It is a mix of classroom learning with using technology as an enabler. Now the other thing, how many of you have an experience where some of your manager who wants to attend a training course, but unfortunately your training and development guys cannot, because the business guy doesn't want to give him a leave for 2 or 3 days? How many of you have this experience of that? The guy wants to go for a training and development course, he deserves it, but the business says, boss, you can't take a leave for 2-3 days, you are indispensable to the business, so you deprive a deserving candidate his learning experience. How many of you? I think it's a frequent case, right? Most of you have this experience, right? So at least some of you have this experience, right? So blended learning, which brings in this element of technology, the benefits of classroom learning is I think it solves the problem to an extent where a self-motivated employee, who is aware that he needs to upgrade and gain that knowledge, along with the seriousness or a kind of a carrot and stick approach towards it, can actually can make the learning work. Right? Do you know which is the largest university in the UK in terms of student enrollment? Anyone take a guess? The largest university in the UK in terms of student enrollments? Any guess? Okay, it's not the Oxfords, it's not the Cambridges of the world, it's a university called Open University of UK. Open University. So Open University in the UK, which has started in the late 1960s, which has started as a distance learning university, is now the largest university in terms of student enrollment, serving almost thrice the number of students what Oxford and Cambridge is serving. Right? Now, how did this government university, a state-funded university, which started in the 1960s when technology is barely heard, we haven't heard of computers in 1960s and 1970s, right? But the university is founded in 1960s. Now, how could it become? It started as a distance learning university. You call distance learning universities, right? So, how could they do that? It is in adapting technology and leveraging the best of both worlds. It's mixing the advantages of using technology and building the intellectual capital that they've built in terms of the faculty or the resources, the intellectual resources that they've built. It's a judicious mix of technology with the traditional technology as well as the intellectual capital that they have built, which made Open University the largest university. And if you look at it, there are 80% of the Fortune FTSE companies in UK have actually sponsored their employees to their education in the Open University, which should tell you something about the quality of education, because it's actually a myth that distance learning or online learning is inferior to a classroom learning. I'm sure there are a lot of things that a classroom learning can do, but a virtual learning can also do that. Okay, so it's important to understand that technology is not a genie which has magical solutions to all your problems or your learning and development problems, but a judicious understanding of the training and development, the needs of the organizations, and using this technology and your intellectual capital or your training needs will deliver the results for you. I think if some of you can tell your experiences in terms of the learning and development things that where you're using technology in your organizations, would be happy to learn from it. Can anyone tell me an example of how your organization is using technology in the training and development? Any of you? Right. Looks like our training and development guys either the room is full of HR folks who are not in the learning and development, or I think yeah. Yeah. Can you just hand over a mic, please?
Hi, I'm Nidhi from UFlex, and in fact, we are trying to use the technology for the reinforcement of learnings. We are still not at a stage where we can use it to impart the learnings, but yes, for reinforcements, we are trying to use technology in a big way. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Any other thing? Yeah.
I think in my earlier organization, we used game learning. Customer services was one platform where checking forms when I was in the insurance industry. So checking forms for quality in terms of whether the form is correct and can be accepted for insurance cover was a very tedious and considered a very boring part of training and development. So we developed a game in partnership with another technology organization. So this game was put on all the desks of the customer service personnel, and there were different levels of trying to play that game. So it was like a video game, and that actually reduced a lot of over-the-counter rejections for us. So yes, it is possible to use technology even to, impart and reinforce learning. But I think classroom, I don't see it going out completely altogether. There's some bit of classroom, especially in skilling sessions, where you would need classroom. Knowledge can be imparted using technology, but skilling, perhaps we would need to get them back into the classroom once in a while for the human touch.
Right. That's actually music to my ears. A disclaimer, I am an entrepreneur, okay, and modesty is never one of my virtues, okay. So it's music to my ears because we at Careerista, we are a company which are using, bringing in technology, blended learning technology, into your training and development. So it's always nice to hear, as a speaker, when you try and look at responses, when you have fewer responses, you'll be disappointed. But for me as an entrepreneur, it's music to my ears because I see very less training and very less technology that is being used currently in the learning and development. So I think it validates our approach towards the learning, and it's good to hear that. Right. And the other thing is that when it comes to you leveraging technology, because training and development has always been you have budgetary constraints in learning and development, but the advances in technology has actually made an open economy where knowledge you might access a great quality of content or training material online for free. Say an example of Coursera or an edX or a Udacity, which are all not-for-profit. Udacity is a for-profit organization, but something like edX, is a not-for-profit where you have great quality of content which is available. But the challenge is, how do you embed those online, freely available online resources into your training and development needs to leverage it, to leverage their fullest of potential. Now, consider a case of a scenario where, for example, if you take NPTEL in India, we all know the quality of engineering education in India, right? We have depth of talent, we have depth of faculty, and there are plethora of institutions who doesn't have quality of faculty. So government of India have taken an initiative and bringing something called NPTEL. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about NPTEL, which is actually bringing in technology and so-called great faculty which is available for free. But the point is, NPTEL couldn't manage to crack its goal. The reason is, a lot of engineering colleges, a lot of students are not aware of NPTEL. Okay. So the same case, there are a lot of great courses, great training material available online, but as an organization, can you make it accessible to and make them known to your employees is one way of looking at it. How about probably, can you tell your employees that a great course which is available for free on a Java or a whatever it is? So can you make your employees aware of it, or in a sense, can you be an enabler for your employees to make these courses available? Now that is going to be an interesting experiment where you can do at your organizations, where you can make these free online resources available and make it more accessible to your people. Now that is, that is an interesting thing that you might explore in your organizations. Because NPTEL, in spite of being a great experiment by the government of India, couldn't manage to reach its goal. So can you, as L&D professionals or HR professionals, do the task for you and do a service for your employees? Have anyone tried this kind of approach, where you make your employees available the resources which are available to access the online content which is there? So is there any organization that has done some work in this? Is there any organization that has done some kind of work in this? Are you guys too shy, or you haven't done some work? It could be two reasons, right? Right. So what we can do is that make use of these materials which are available, and the great quality of the faculty or the training materials which are available online for free, and use them or embed them in your own training and development, and make it accessible to people, right? So I'm going to make it brief because I know that I'm stopping you from lunch, so I'm going to finish it off before my allotted time. Okay. So any questions on leveraging technology or anything? I'm free to answer. Yeah.
You said there are quite a few dropouts, and the percentage of people who register for online courses, those who complete,
yes,
is very less. What was the percentage?
It's 6%. 6%. 6% out of 100.
Your logic to it, your understanding,
yeah?
why it happens?
The reason why they do it is because, see, individuals look at instant gratification. Now learning has to have an element of gratification towards it. So what is missing in what is massively open online courses is that there is no gratification. You're not going to get a certificate. Now we have this tendency, we in this society have a way of measuring knowledge. It's not just about acquiring knowledge. It's also about marketing your knowledge, or having a validation for your knowledge, which is missing in a massively open online courses, right? So that could be one of the reasons why why there is a lot of percentage drop of students. Okay. So I think that is another cue for the learning and development professionals, is that the seriousness will increase manifold if you have some kind of gratification in terms of recognition in your training and development. That is missing in a lot of organizations. So I think one important thing is that we human beings are selfish. Okay, so we need gratification for everything, whatever we try and do. So I think that can be a cue for your training and development activities. Right. Any other questions? Right. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sudhakar. I request you to please be on stage with us. And once again, I request Mr. Rajesh to kindly come up and thank the gentleman for his presentation. Thank you so much, everyone. Can you please join me in thanking the gentleman on stage with us? Thank you so very much. With this, I request all of you to please proceed for lunch break, everyone. Thank you so much.